Good evening, everyone. In anticipation of tonight's meeting, please silence your phone or put it on vibrate at this time. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30, Thursday, April 20, 2023. The Historic Town of Eatonville Community Redevelopment Agency meeting has now been called to order. Mrs. King, do we have the quorum?
We do, and by roll call, I'll confirm that. Director Randolph? Yes. Director Critton?
Present.
Director Henderson? Director Marlon Daniels?
Present.
Director Washington? Vice Chair Rodney Daniels?
Present.
And Chair Gardner.
Here. Thank you. Please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're ready. Is there any public participation?
Yes, we have one, Angela Johnson.
Good evening, board members, fellow residents. I just have a question on the item that's coming before you tonight for discussion, the paint, plant, and pave program. Is this for discussion or is it potentially for approval, a board decision tonight as well?
Discussion.
Okay, and then in the discussions, are you guys able to disclose the total amount that has been allocated for the program? And when it says for, and then what would maybe be the anticipated date of implementation, how it will be advertised to residents, because in reading it, you know, obviously it's stating first come, first serve. So what's the implementation period? I mean, it looks pretty simple, which is great. And is there a time frame that has to have passed if a resident has received prior funds from the CRA? So if you can address all those questions in your discussion this evening. Thank you.
And there are no others.
Our next item is the consent agenda. Motion to approve. It's been moved. Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. We are now ready for board discussion. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Barnes.
So, board, I'm bringing to you for discussion two programs. The first is the Paint, Plant, and Pave program. There is currently no money allocated for any grants or programs in the budget. The reason for me bringing these two programs, just to see if the board has an appetite to do a budget transfer and how much for these programs for this fiscal year, or if this is something that you would want to see in next fiscal year's program. So that is the reason for the discussion, to get some direction from the board on how you would like me to implement these.
So when is the budget for CRA, is that October?
It's
Same, right?
same, yes.
In October. So we still have, May, June, July, August, September. We have several months that people could, benefit from. My only other thing would be, is to make certain that everything that needed to be allotted for, like the grants and the timelines for when those expenditures might start happening for reimbursable would be my only other thing. But I would think we have enough time to at least try to get something in place to benefit the citizens. Steve, are you?
No?
Oh,
Well, the last time we done these here, did you go back and check and see what the amount we,
It was 30,000.
that I put in there? So that's something we'll look at, that number.
so that would benefit like this is 3 themes though, 30,000 per or 30,000?
The program,
Program, it is
The
program.
whole program.
the whole program.
So, and it's up to 5,000. It's not they will get,
Right.
it depends what they need, so.
Right.
It's up to 5,000 per property. So, it can be a couple thousand, it can be whatever, just know.
That can be adjusted as the board sees fit.
But just,
All right, Director Randolph and then Vice Chair.
Yeah, my concerns, are the, let's see, whether or not we would like to, I think it's a great program. I really do. It's a great program. I think it's something that's very fitting for our community and our residents here. This is something that they've been asking for a while. So I was concerned about, whether or not there will be any income level requirements in order to qualify. If we want to establish that, we can take a look at that. And whether or not is that in comparison to some others that we had, was it based upon your income level, household income?
No, I don't believe so. When I looked at the past applications, it did not have that. If we want to go by income, we can do the same income that Orange County does, if that's something that the board wants to do.
There's Orange County, we have something similar to this, that's by income levels, or it's just open to anyone?
I am not sure. I know no. Their program that they have for rehabilitation is by income. You have to be eligible by income for Orange County.
Okay. And you did discuss, someone did bring up about the budget. And I agree with, Mayor, if we can look at maybe some line items later on, about mid-year, getting close before the end. And maybe there's some line items on our budget that we're not really using and they're not being utilized, or maybe there's very low usage. It would probably be good if we had something at that point that we can probably implement just to get like a few people started so we can see how this actually works. So I agree, we can, always look at that. And again, like you say, there's no total budget. We talked about that this afternoon. And I just think it's just a good program, a good start for the CRA. It's something very simple. It doesn't look like anything very complicated. So that's good. Thank you very much.
Vice Chair.
I just want to be sure that everyone that applies are able to take advantage of this program. You see what I'm saying? So whatever we're providing, I'm hoping that we can under promise over deliver in a sense, so that everyone, so you don't have that one that maybe didn't get in. If they qualify in time and meet the criteria, that we're able to fulfill and not run out of funds. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to do flowers, and we know we do flowers, we're going to paint, and we know we paint every home in Eva that comes, because the CRA program is supposed to be for everyone and not just selected people. And if you didn't get in, you know what I'm saying, because we ran out of funds, that shouldn't be their problem.
Well, I see that, but we could do it in cycles, so if that's something that you want to do this fiscal year, and then we can put it in the budget for next fiscal year, so those people that.
Exactly, as long as we're able to get everybody covered on.
Director Marlon names and then Director Green.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. How you?
I have just a couple questions. Some are piggybacking off of what others have said. In the description section, I did see the figure 2,500 to 7,500 per property, which was in slight contradiction to the summary where we listed the number 5,000.
It should have been 5,000.
5,000?
Yes.
Okay. And then I did hear you all say that it would be a reimbursable program, is that correct? Okay, beautiful. In the next section, next to the, behind the first come, first serve, I do see the term priority basis. Can you define that? And then can you also tell us who determines what that priority is? Is that a board decision? Are we putting, if you need plants, that's at the bottom of the totem pole. If you need fence, that's at the top. Are we determining what that priority means, or can we define what that priority
We
means?
can come up with a scale when it comes to that.
Okay.
And then if it's something that the board wants to pursue, I can look at it come up with a scale.
All right. Another paragraph down, there is the requirement to maintain the improvements. Is there a time period on those improvements? Are we putting a 5-year cap on that, a 10-year cap? We plant, and then Hurricane Louis comes, and then tell the little flowers we put down, and you come back. Are you required to?
Did you cover them?
Can we, maybe in our continued discussion, maybe allocate a period of time? In addition to that, do we have a team that will be doing any inspection? I don't know if that falls under code enforcement or CRA, or it's, since we're determining the need to maintain that, is there an inspection team that will tell us this hasn't been maintained, you can come before the board and explain, et cetera, anything like that in there?
I mean, I'm sure that will follow the code. We don't have a team. We're kind of stretched in as it is. But that would be something that follows code enforcement.
Okay. The very next paragraph, it talks about repaying the full amount in the event that the property is sold. Will applicants be able to apply for forgiveness? That, like, if, I got it, and then a year later mom died, or mom got sick, and I had to move to Salt Lake City, Utah, and it was out of my control. Can I come before the board and ask for some sort of forgiveness? Am I required to repay that as a constituent, of course, or as an applicant or recipient of this program?
That would be
If they sell it, so, or if they're keeping it, it wouldn't matter.
Well,
right?
like if they're required to sell it, if I gotta move to Salt Lake and I'm no anticipation on when I'm gonna be back, so best interest for me as a homeowner is to, sell. If that comes up, do we have can we put something in place that will potentially allow them to apply for the forgiveness, or exemption? Yeah. And then lastly, I do see in on the page 8, the last paragraph, remaining free of all municipal and or county liens, judgments, etc. Again, is that something that they might be able to come back before the board to ask for some sort of forgiveness or exemption, or can we put a time stamp on, okay, you got a lien, it has to be removed within 90 days, or you'll be required to repay those funds?
And liens, or some encumbrances other than mortgages. Because a lot of people have mortgage.
Right.
But that's not our board.
Right outside of
We
that.
don't do it. City board.
Well, it says judgments for encumbrances.
Municipal stuff. Municipal and county, we don't deal with
It will, or it needs to, just make it clear.
that. Yeah, I need to put.
Right.
That's the city.
I think that was my last one. Oh, I apologize. I was looking at, and this is just me playing devil's advocate, I was looking at the application, and one of the questions, of course, is do you currently own the property? Are we opening up, are we, kind of stretching that definition to maybe mom technically owns the house, I've been living here for 5 years, I've paid the mortgage, or whatever the case is, or it's a family home that's paid off and I live here, I don't technically own it, but I would like to apply on behalf of the homeowner. Is that something that we're open to?
that would be
Board
more
decision?
I would like to comment on that.
Well, let director.
Oh, that's all I have. Done preaching, thank you.
So actually, Director Creighton actually went into some of the things I was talking about. That's one of the main things we're currently on. So there has to be a stringent vetting process to make sure it is fast. And something else, I know we say first come, first served. Could we do like a lot of the system kind of doing it? Like people go through, put it in, so nobody can say you pick and choose or whatever. Unless we're gonna do it electronically and be able to timestamp it, that's one way. But something that other municipalities have done was you go through, you submit your application, you put balls in, number balls in, and then you roll through it, and then that's the way you determine it. So then it takes away from I'm doing it for votes or whatever. No, this was a fair system, and as long as you got everything, only way your name gets put into that pool is you meet all the criteria ahead of time. So all the stuff that Director Creighton was talking about, it's already vetted and all that. So we know we get rolling, this person, we don't have to worry about pulling this person out because we know they're the owner, we know they met all the criteria checklist. So I think that's something that we can look at. Making sure that the contractors are vetted, and I think that's another thing that we can go through is getting that information, making sure they're vetted all the way through, that we got people that's licensed and all that other things. Side note, because a law just is getting ready to go through the Senate right now. If you allow people to be doing work on your homes and all that, and they're illegal and all that, you can be hit with a felony. That's getting ready to come through legislation right now. So things like that, we be setting people up, we be setting homeowners up and all that. So let's go through it and vet everything all the way through that. Director Creighton asked again, who is the approving authority? So that's why I think we can get rid of favoritism, or we can get rid of that if we go through the kind of lottery system. And then how are we going to market this? I know Ms. Johnson said, if we're going to roll this out this year, this fiscal year, say we're doing it August 1st to September 1st, we need to get this out of people's hands by July 1st so everybody have the ample opportunity so it can be a fair thing. Not, oh, I knew it because I came to council, you know, I know so-and-so, so I'm able to get it through faster. We need to put it in a way where it's fair for all residents and we get rid of all this ambiguity.
Director Randolph, then Director Washington.
I just want to add, yeah, everything that everyone says is great. It sounds good. I just want to just re-emphasize my concern, another concern that I have for those residents who have already, prior to this program, received prior funding in the other programs that we had. We need to put a stipulation on there that if you receive funding, just an example, in the last 7 years for the town of Eatonville, because that's basically, it's kind of like a beginning point where your home starts deteriorating, paint, mildew, and those kind of things, board removals, etc., that you would not be eligible for this program because you don't want the same people double dipping in that one, and then you're also funded for this one. Okay, I see board member Washington is kind of like leaning what I'm saying. Okay, also, I don't think it really should be investment properties. That's the other thing, because we don't really know how much money we actually going to get, and we don't even know how many people may be applying. But we're going to make sure that we have adequate amount of funds to go around. Also, the last thing that I have is saying about that investment properties. Yeah, I think those two right there are the things that I'm just concerned about. And we have to make sure, are we going to ask for the residents to make sure they have any insurance? Will they be required to have any insurance? I don't think it's going to affect the work that's being done, but I do know that most programs with housing, when you're asking for funds, it will ask you if you have insurance. Because we don't want to improve a home and then all of a sudden the house burns down and there's our investment is gone. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to piggyback definitely on the people that used us this program back in the past. We definitely should not be the first ones to be in this program. And then like the rental property, we need to look at this. So we're fixing up somebody's rental property, and they kick that person out and make their house look good for rent. Mm-hmm. And another thing on this Director Randall was talking about, definitely we must look at, insurance wise. I mean, that's something that, is up to the homeowner. But if the homeowner own a home, that shouldn't be an issue. But definitely, we shouldn't invest in rental properties. It should be homeowner properties.
So it should be homestead.
Homestead, yes.
Yeah, homestead gotta cover it all.
Right, it'll cover everything, so that'll help us out on that. So if you written, and if you do sell, you fix the house up and you put 5,000 in it, that's a 5,000 improvement, that's a good 10, 15,000 more in your house you can sell it for. Probably. So the thing is, what you get windows or windows and paint. I mean, so that's something we look at. So that's all.
So, to go back to the up to 7,500, we made that correction of 5,000. It seems like it should just be up to 5,000.
Okay.
Instead of, because what if I want something that's 1,000 and not 2,500?
Okay.
So that's there. Approved applicants must, I have this underlined, if I read it out loud, maybe I remember why I underlined it. Approved applicants must provide an invoice after work is completed, along with, I know why I underlined it. This goes back to what was stated earlier about the people doing the work. It would be great if we collected the applications up to a certain period. So everyone, get your applications in, we give them, I don't know, just say it was the end of May. So we get all the applications in by the 30th of May or the 31st of May. And then, starting June 1, you start vetting those applications. Those that are incomplete, put them to the side, right? Because it needs to be a complete application. The rest of the applications, if you only budget 30,000, but just say in my application, I wanted several things. I wanted paving, planting, and what's the other one?
Okay.
Yes. If I want all three, I put them in order of significance to me. So if I got 10 applications, there's only $30,000, then you look at what everyone wanted, and then that would determine what they got. So we can't do all three, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, but if you would, based on your application, you said you most wanted this done, we can do that this time. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but we can service more people with something versus less people with everything that they want. So if they're paving, if they need their driveway repaved more than they need plants right now, at least they'll get that paving done. Something like that, and if you haven't received, and this goes back to if you've already had the program. If this year I only wanted something 2,000, but this says up to 5,000, I should be able to use it next year. But if I use 5,000 this year, then maybe, does that make sense? It goes back to reusing it.
The same person reusing it? Or?
No, but listen to what I'm saying. If what I wanted this year was 2,000, what I'm saying is it shouldn't kick me out of the pot for 10 years. What's 2,000 when I could have gotten something up at 5,000? But if I got something for 5,000, then it kicks me out for 2 years, 3 years. That was just something to consider.
On thing with that, Chair, is the funding sources change and all that. And then you can have people that's going to continue to repeat. And before you know it, we done invested 10,000, 20,000 into one person instead of other people. So I get what you're trying to say, but I think we need to put some stipulation. I don't say it has to be 10 years, but maybe it's at least 5 or 7 years or something where people not coming back.
But they'll never get more than 5,000.
The thing is, it's not
That's
a
not-
count.
I mean,
It's not
that's
you have
not-
an account. That's just what
I know, what I'm saying
You sell
is-
you that account. If I lose 2,000, I got 3 more thousand I can use.
No, but
So
also,
that's not it.
but
So,
also,
no.
but
So
what if I
then
have
you use
something?
what you use, that's it.
So
But what
you
if I didn't want no plans this year? I want them next
But
year.
then that's up to that individual. They got to choose which one they want, what's more important
Right,
to
I
them,
get it.
and then you go from there.
Hey, I put out different
Yeah,
conversations.
it's just discussion.
I do-
It's just one. It's just like
I do-
this is
I
an
do-
account.
I do agree that it should be for homesteaded properties, not rental. But you're receiving income for the other properties, then that should be part of that amount. So I said the bulk optimum pricing, if if we know, if the town can put out an RFP for, say, landscaping work. So if at the end we know how many houses will be painted, how many driveways will be paved, then the town can put out an RFP and say, this is the number of houses, what would your price be? That way we can go ahead and vet it ourselves. We know who's doing the work. We can get their licensing and everyone will get the same quality of work. And we can go behind, I think, one of the things that the CRA had to do according to the county is make certain that that work was done, the pictures are taken before they get their final payment. So I don't know, if, I'm just putting that out there as well.
That's how it was, Chair, in the neighborhood grant for Orange County, that they had one contractor, because I worked in a program with Macedonia back in the day, that you had one landscaper, one painter come in, they went through and assessed, and then you may be able to squeeze another 1, 2, instead of 10, now we can squeeze 12 in or whatever,
Right.
and do it that way.
That way we have bulk pricing or something, the best deal. The other thing is mortgages. When I read this, I would not read this as the liens and the judgments or encumbrances just being the municipal. Because you can have a judgment from the county, the state, you can have it from
Child support.
anywhere. So I think that should be clarified because an encumbrance is a mortgage, a note. And that's okay. If it's just your regular note, I think that should be okay. But if the mortgage is behind, not one month, you just didn't make it yet, but I mean like seriously delinquent and you're getting ready to hit foreclosure, then I think that's something to look at. Because you're getting ready to put up to $5,000 into upgrades and the person might be losing their home. That may sound mean, but
Worth discussion.
you're right.
But that's part of the application process, that's with staff, looking on the proper appraisal, make sure it's not in foreclosure. You can, I guess you
It may not be listed.
understand,
Yeah.
what do you,
Yeah.
that's what, I don't know how they do it, so.
You
Like
just
the attorney had something to say.
Yeah, it's challenging how you would say it, because some of that information you would want to become a public record when they submit it.
Right.
But establishing some type of proof that their mortgage was in good standing,
the last statement.
then that statement becomes a public record when they give it to you.
Oh.
But something that allows the board to make the determination that it doesn't have the likelihood of going into foreclosure in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Just to piggyback, on the contractor conversation, could we also potentially look at local?
Absolutely.
Here, right in the town of Eagle, I know,
Yeah.
the first thing that comes to mind is Singleton and Sons.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
Mr. King, a couple others that might have, so that we can support our local economy
Yes.
as well, if that's something that, is feasible. And then the second thing was the topic of income. Considering our current, income average in the town, I would just ask that we're sensitive and not discriminatory because of that. I do recognize, okay, the county is huge. Eatonville is really small. We know what our median average income is here in the town of Eatonville, and then I would just hope that if I'm on hard times or between jobs, that I'm not disqualified because I don't necessarily meet an income bracket or something like that. So just in implementing the income factor, we could just be some kind of sensitive, I don't know, maybe discussion before the board or,
I
whatever.
think the least income is better. I think this is when you make more income.
Right, absolutely,
Yeah.
understood that for sure, but of course,
Yeah.
on that scale, incorporating that sensitivity, and that's it.
Okay, I want to push back income. Income should be more if we're doing something like rebuilding, rehabbing houses. Which is like the side.
So, yeah, 5,000, I don't think we put income out there.
Income,
Right.
it should be income.
Somebody middle class is still struggling just like anybody else, so I
I
don't.
think income should be for this kind of program, unless you're doing a rehab program. And you have to get out your house for so many months, and you put in tens of thousands of dollars in the home. So I think this was that $5,000 should not be income based, just make sure your home ownership based.
And I have one more. When we were talking about wait, are you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This
We were
is-
talking about, should the owner fail to maintain the improvements? How are we going to enforce that? See, we need to take that out, honestly. You know, either they.
That's why I asked.
Right, you gonna pass it, yeah. And depending on what day of the week you go by there.
And then with plants, you gotta understand something, do they have irrigation system? You
Yeah,
know,
that-
so
that was
that's something we
like-
might need to look at, you might waste the funds,
Yeah.
putting plants in the yards.
You go
if they
to
don't have
somebody
irrigation.
else. Those the plants we put in there, they look like that?
You can get water bill time, I mean, you know, so somebody's, you have some people irrigations, but still, you know.
Can I make a comment?
So,
Is it open for comment?
It's quick. Miss, Thomas, I would like to know what you have to say.
It is, I promise you.
Okay. Anton Thomas, Eatonville.
If they want to.
Yes.
Okay, so I served as the co-chair for the Affordable Housing Board for 3 years. We still have the minor rehab and that same program that you're offering. So I would suggest that we kind of partner with them, because there may be some that income may fall in that guideline. And since we can't do it all, instead of us putting the money in there, refer them over to the affordable housing, because they will qualify. But the only thing is, you have to be a homeowner, you have to have your insurance, and if it's a probate property, it has to be in your name. So Orange County still have just about the same programs we have. So if we get it and we see that the person want paint, but yet they may need more, partner with the Affordable Housing Board to see if they can do it. Because when I was on the board, they would say, where is Eatonville at? And I'm like, still where it's at? I don't know. But anyway, if you partner with them, we have tons of money. We just don't utilize it, and Eatonville don't participate in their programs anymore.
Ms. Thomas, is this the same one with the neighborhood grant?
Yeah, we still have the neighborhood grant,
So
and we
the
have
neighborhood
all of
grant,
that.
though, is what, within, they like you to do the houses within a mile, but then we need to find another, and I get what you're saying. We need to get a nonprofit to go in and apply for that neighborhood grant through Orange County, because then you can do like so many houses, and I think they can put 50,000 per house.
Cor-
So we could actually, I get what you're saying, we could work all of them at one time almost.
Well, kind of, sort of. I think theirs is on an individual basis, so you would qualify for the $5,000, which is not a grant. You don't have to repay it. But if they come in and they repair and do that, and they see that it takes more, then they refer you over to the rehab, and that's where you move out for the few months. They give you a stipend to move out, and then they go in and do whatever repair. The program is still there. We just don't utilize it. It's been there.
So that's something we can look at, that and anything else that's out there that can supplement what we give. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did have one more. Just give us- I really don't. Never mind. I don't see it. I wrote the note, but I don't see it. All right. Anything else? The next item, demolition grant program.
This is another program that I'm bringing before the board for discussion. It is the demolition program for homeowners who may not have the funds to tear down or demo houses. As you know, part of CRA is to bring light in the area, and I've gone around the town and taken pictures of certain homes that could stand to be demoed. They create a hazard both in health and with crime. I know that there is a house on, is this Calhoun? That I see regularly transients in there, and they sit on the porch like it's their house. I believe that this will be a beneficial program for the town. It'll be an immediate impact of red and black. So I'm open up for discussion.
I have a big thought on this one. I think that if those homes are owned and I think that the owners, if we pay to have those homes demolished, then I would want the town to get its money back. Put a lien on that property. Because the other home that had the little, it's on Mosley, that home, I don't know the dates of these homes, so let me back up.
Is it on here?
Yes, that one. This is really a cute home. That little place in the back right there, it would be nice if we knew if that was historical at all. And then perhaps we can get historical money. I know it's a site now, but if you could look at that being restored, that would be nice for the CRA to purchase that, get the restoration money and get it restored. That would be nice. So I don't think that every single house should be demolished, but that we should look to see if there is a historical value, although we also want it to be safe for the residents. Yes.
Chair, I think you're on to it, but the main thing is, that's what we have code enforcement for. Code enforcement should be going through and ensuring that there are no cases and all that. And I agree with you. If we demolish it, we need to get the money back from it. Also, a lot of times when you start looking at, and I'm with you, I have mixed emotions on it. When you start talking about going through demolishing houses, that reduces down the property value. So when you go to sit out for appraisal, you own appraising land. Unlike if you have a structure on it, they can give you a hypothetical on it and be able to go from that standpoint. So I think we have to be very careful with that. I don't know, Attorney, could we start sending out letters to these people saying, hey, we're getting ready to go forth with these actions and start putting them on notice, because we paperwork them enough. When we get ready to do something or we take it over, there's nothing that can be said there.
And my thought was, initially when I saw this is where when the limits of what you can do with code enforcement end and you try to come up with other solutions. And the first thought I had was whether or not these properties already have liens on them or not, depending on code enforcement. And then you have the issue of whether they can have liens on them all day, but if they're homestead, you can't foreclose on the lien. They don't look like they're homestead, but yeah, there's an intersection there, and certainly with code enforcement and the liens there, you have a potential remedy, at least, where you can recoup funds. You also have ability to do health and safety tags and do some repair, and where you're also allowed to lien back those costs. But it's each property is unique, but certainly the demoing it through the CRA is an option. I just couldn't tell you in an individual case which one would be best, but certainly code enforcement should be looked at.
And I think there is a story about those properties with code enforcement. I don't know if because we didn't have a magistrate to follow through or if it was in court, not probate, I'm not sure. But to go back to what Director Daniels was saying about if you tear it down, you don't have that value. I had that same note, and I also said if you have 4 homes and you gave those 4 people up to $5,000 each, if it costs $4 to $10 per square thing, so was that $20,000? I would much rather give that to someone who's trying to buy their first home as a down payment, and you still make them demolish those houses, because it would be an eyesore. So I would much, like to see some sort of down payment assistance but I think there's a story with those houses.
So, Ms. Bond, we have a list of all these that we can start actually researching and find out who owns them and all that, and go through a process.
Yes. I have the addresses, I can research.
Because you'll be surprised, some people may say, hey, it's this many liens on it or whatever, I'm willing to give it up. And then maybe, as you said, Chair, that may be a way that we can come through and get somebody to come in and build a new home or whatever. But I'm just all about, instead of just leveling land and just having that, I mean, the appraisal's gonna come back and then you ain't gonna be able to control what's happening then. So.
I have one question. Just make sure, we do the research, make sure that all these homes don't have a lien on them already with the town. Because some of them might, 1, 2, or 3 of them up there might have liens on them already, so we can put it in our hands and do what we need to do on the other end, so if force them to get busy on doing something with it, or we take them to the magistrate up to sell it, whatever, how that go.
Yeah, because I mean, if you have your liens on and if we've been doing it, but if we haven't, then it's a time frame then, right?
Right, if they appear like they would be subject to violations of the code and go through it, they begin to run fines, and once the lien's in place for more than 3 months, then the code enforcement board can authorize the town to foreclose on the lien.
And now that we have a board, we can sell it. So, maybe that was it. Anything else?
But the ones that's drug infested and people sit on the porch, we need to hit them hard because we don't know what can happen there.
They have been escorted out a couple weeks ago, but they're back.
See what I'm saying? So
So,
when a crime happened, then we're gonna be in trouble because we can get tell the landowner, the property owner, to board it up, or and like some places like in Poplar, they tear down and say, is this drug infested, people hanging out? They're tearing down without the owner just put a bill on, you know. So that's what they do. But they get the property. We do talk to the property owner though. I think I had one guy that had an issue and he told the city to tear it down. He said, go ahead, tear it down. You know, so.
All right, go on to the next one, discussion of the neighborhood stabilization.
We took it off the agenda the last time. Is this not available for discussion at all?
I don't see any reason why
so
we
this,
can't.
I saw a name on there.
yes, and he was wanting to do a presentation. He called me this afternoon and canceled, but I know Director Randolph, we're going to put it back on to have the health agency come and discuss this next month on the next agenda. So.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to Mr. Grant, the former mayor, to give us his thoughts on this stabilization program, because he's been talking about it for the last couple of months. And I was concerned about his priorities as to what he thought would be a good infrastructure for not only this program but also for the town itself. But Mrs. Nicole Oriole over at the Health Center, she'd be more than glad to come back. I think she came here sometime maybe around midsummer, and she just did basically a 3-minute presentation. So this time she's coming back. I had asked her if she would come back to the next meeting. It's the last meeting. I made sure she prepared all these packets for the directors. It's very good information in here, and a lot of things that we're covering tonight. We said these are the good services that they offer.
And the only thing I'd add to that in anticipation of this presentation, if you go to the Neighborhood Stabilization Program website, it talks about the eligible activities, and some of them are the ones we discussed tonight. You know, so blighted, demolishing the blighted structures. And it goes back to what Ms. Thomas was talking about. There's money available. We don't always have to use ours, and that's one of the programs.
I concur. I was just going to note that there are, I know Director Randolph mentioned in the last meeting when we kind of dismissed it from the agenda that it wasn't necessary to quote unquote reinvent the wheel, I believe was her language that she used, but I do concur. I do believe that very much like Ms. Thomas said, that there are programs out there that we could either potentially partner with, of course in anticipation of Mr. Grant's presentation, that we could take from, that we could use to help build that infrastructure of what this program looks like for the town of Eatonville, in anticipation of that presentation.
Is there anything else? Yes.
One thing, so I'm not intimately familiar with HUD's neighborhood stabilization program. So I looked into it a little bit before coming here today, and one of the things that caught my eye was that no new funding for the program had come in since 2010. So one of the first questions before you get too far down the road is what's actually available before you pay anybody to go out and find it for you.
Absolutely. Good observation.
Well, when I read something and not familiar with it, I try to look at it before I come in in case y'all have questions.
Yeah, it might need money. All right. Anything else?
So Mrs. Cohen, did you search to find out whether or not there's any funds from the county for neighborhood stabilization?
No, but I can do that. I'll let you know.
Yeah, just check it out. I'm not saying that we have to implement that, but just kind of check it out and see what they have.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
All right, there are no board, any other discussion on that? All right, there are no other board decisions, staff report.
So I wanted to give a report on the investigation and the RFP that has gone out. As of right now, we don't have any bids. We have 4 firms that have looked at it, but not have placed a bid. And so it is open until April 28th. So I just wanted to give the board that update on that. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. You've already given.
I'm here for Mr. Jackson, who's in trial in, I believe, Lake County. He will be back at your next meeting and apologizes that he couldn't make it.
All right, thank you. Director Randall.
A couple of concerns, and that is, we ran into some complications about the email address. And I understand that the email address, the reason why I'm addressing this is because I had called the Historic Preservation in Tallahassee to try to get some information. And the manager of the person in charge had said that they were sending messages to the town of Eatonville and they haven't received any responses. So I just wanted to make sure that we have a support town of Eatonville CRA email address. Because when I looked on certain documents, that's the email that I have, that I saw. So what is the official email address for the CRA?
So right now, and you brought that up this afternoon, I did email Jonita, who is over our contact for the IT, to set up a support email for the town, a general email account for the CRA. So that should be done by tomorrow.
Because all of those individuals who will be responding to the investigation will be sending it to you.
Yes,
Okay, so have you intercepted any information
No.
from anyone yet?
I have not.
Okay. Also, I did not receive, or I don't know where we are. I know it was brought up about the fluorescent audit investigation. Where are we with that?
I'm sorry. Audit investigation?
Forensic audit?
Do we have a fluorescent audit?
Like,
Not
No?
for
Recently?
Did we have something like that about a month ago or 2 or 3 months ago?
well, actually, don't see it.
No? Okay. All right. Also, the board training. I am set up to attend board training on May the 5th. And what is that, in Tampa?
Yes.
In Tampa. Okay. And I have confirmed, so I will be there. CRA board training. That's one of the ones that I had requested earlier. Other than that, I guess that's basically all that I have. Oh yes, one more thing. We did not complete the bylaws. So when are we going to do this again?
So Attorney Jackson will speak to that at the last meeting. He was taking care of the bylaws and comparing the two, and was going to come back with his findings. So I will email him and see where he is with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Washington?
No report.
Director Director Marlon Daniels.
Just some items for discussion. We are talking about CRA dollars and all that. I think we take time to look at doing some budget adjustments in the CRA. If we're talking about implementing these plans, let's go ahead and see what be the implications on the budget, because maybe we can squeeze a little bit more. We don't have any other plans scheduled for this fiscal year. So, if we can kind of like schedule that and I get the on that. Since we are in blighted areas and the whole town is considered blighted, the front street, could we look at some funding to help with the landscape on the front Main Street? Because we really try to attract business, we try to attract people to come in here and spend dollars here. We have to have an appearance to make people welcome to want to come in. So along that line, something I've been thinking about is, could we call for a meeting with our front street business owners and maybe see what it would look like with us coming up with a plan of having a uniform paint job across the whole city to really make it look like a downtown landscape and atmosphere and all that. And then maybe we need to look at, do we add some different lighting to make the lighting appear different? Because maybe we need to go through on the town side and change, maybe having food trucks or having live bands on the streets that, you know, on a Friday or Saturday to get people to come to the evening there. And then signs. Why can't we have uniform signs down the whole main street to make it more appealing to our business owners that we do care about them? So just some ideas. Also, we need to look at, I heard Director Randolph ask about funding, and I just went back through my email. We need to look at getting back in contact with Orange County. There is money out there with me sitting on the board down in Orange County. I do know that there was a hold up with releasing money. The state has a lot of money right now, but they've reached their limit by statute of how much they can let out with CDBG. So they're having to go through and do a special session coming up. But we have the capabilities in the town and the CRA to get the CDBG. We just need to go back to Orange County and go back into interlocal agreement with them to have that money to be able to flow back in so they can count us and then we can get money for different projects. So we're talking about right now, you know, 30,000. If the county can come back and give us an extra 300,000, 400,000, how much more big of an impact do we have on the community at large? I think we just have to just get outside our comfort zone and we got to buckle in and get things going. But with our CRA, we definitely have to show our people, our business owners that we care about them. We got to show our residents that we care about them. And the idea is to end the blighted area in the town of Edenville to make us on to a better path. And that's all I have.
Vice Chair.
I just need to be able to respond real quick afterwards.
The only thing, go back to the email. You just brought the RFP, and on the RFP, you put the email that they need to contact, right?
Yes.
Okay, and any grants that are out there, those emails were updated already, because they're already talking to us.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure what email that anyone else may have out there, and I just want to make sure that's clear. In regards to the streetscape and using money for those areas that the town has been taking care of, CRA funds can't cover those things, especially if the town has been taking care of it. It has to be out of our SIP plan for at least 3 years before CRA funds can take care of it. That's the first part. The second part is that Mr. Presley has already been in conversations with people to get the water.
Irrigation?
Irrigation, because whatever you plant out, they need an irrigation system. So he's already started with everything that you were saying. He's already started looking into that. And I think that's it. I thought we had a really good discussion tonight. I liked all the ideas. Thank you, Ms. Barnes. And I don't have anything else to say. I thank everyone for coming out. If that's it, we're ready for adjournment.
Second.
We'll do a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye. 7:23. 7:23, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
see that.